Welcome to the Beachwood Business Compass podcast, where our mission is simple: to connect local businesses with the tools, insights, and opportunities they need to thrive. By sharing success stories, offering expert advice, and spotlighting community resources, we aim to empower Beachwood businesses to achieve growth, overcome challenges, and unlock new possibilities. I am so fortunate today to have joining me two amazing women who are kind of spearheading, I think, a lot of the discussions right now revolving around finance and small business growth here within Northeast Ohio. Joining me today is Jasmon Dixon, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Advancement for ECDI, and Carrie Miller, Director of HFLA of Northeast Ohio. So welcome both. How are you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. Good. Well, each of your organizations really provides a range of services that you're offering to small business owners. And I'd love to just kind of dive into that a little bit more. I don't know if you'd each be willing to share just a little bit more about your organizations and kind of how it plays a role, how you play a role, I suppose, in supporting businesses here within the region.
I can start.
Yeah.
So we consider ourselves to be like a one-stop shop for small businesses, in the sense that they can come to us and get affordable capital for whatever they're trying to do, whether it's a startup or they're trying to grow. There can be some challenges in the financial system of getting like things like working capital for your business. And so that's where we play a big part. But then on top of that, the wraparound services are just as important, like being able to have that one-on-one coaching, different trainings that we do. We have a training calendar that's consistent, virtual and in person. And we also do things like cohorts and things like that are specific to certain industries or certain in-demand issues that, the businesses may be having.
And ECDI has a chapter here within the Cleveland area, but then you also have a broader region.
Yeah, we're statewide. We also cover a little bit of West Virginia, Kentucky, and Indiana. And we have about 7 locations across the state. Cleveland is our second most prominent.
That's excellent. And Carrie, if you'd share a little bit about yourself.
The Hebrew Free Loan Association has been around for over 120 years, serving residents of Northeast Ohio. We were founded in the Jewish tradition that you don't charge interest to your neighbors. So we don't charge interest on any of our lending. Our loans are much smaller than you would find in a traditional financial institution, but we don't charge interest on anything. We have been providing loans. We have 3 main buckets of lending. And even if I'm talking in a business sense, I always include the other lending that we do, because it can be supportive to help small business owners and entrepreneurs build their credit along the way. So we have a standard loan that is most financial needs that should arise: home repair, auto repair. Again, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, we do debt consolidation in those loans. So when you're trying to find capital for your business, but you're finding that your personal credit is getting in the way, you can come to us and we can maybe help rebuild some of that personal credit to make it easier to find capital elsewhere. We have an education loan that is $5,000 a year per academic year for a 4-year college or university. And then for vocational training, there's the potential that we could do the entire loan. So if you're working in manufacturing, if you own a manufacturing company and you need to get your people trained and certified, we can maybe provide an interest-free loan for that entire certification or training program.
That's incredible.
And then we have a small business loan. Our small business loans go up to $20,000. And it's flexible money. We, as a nonprofit lender, we have a lot more flexibility to do different types of loans. And so, there are things like working with municipalities who are often very limited in what they can lend money for. And then we can come in and provide some more of the flexible lending around those loans to help a small business really get started and open up.
Yeah, in this time of year, people are really kind of focused on, it's first quarter, there's new, avenues that I want to go after, new targeted marketing that I may be interested in doing, and maybe even growing, the business from a payroll perspective and looking at opportunities to bring on new employees, that working capital component that you mentioned. So tell me, with your 2 organizations, how do you find businesses what is that sweet point at which businesses are looking for, that type of lending? Is there a certain criteria of which businesses are coming to you?
Yeah, I would say for us, our sweet spot it's definitely startups. Businesses that can't go to a traditional bank financing and get the funding that they need. And there are also other challenges. They may have credit challenges, It may be a specific industry that they're in that the banks are not currently looking to add to their portfolio. We have also what we call the near miss, where there may be just one box that's not being checked for them to go to another institution. And so that's where we come in.
And you're sort of helping them along the way then. You're helping them understand how they can work with financial partners and yourself to be able to take that, take whatever that missing component is and get them up to the part at which they can
the education part and position them to become bankable is a big part of what we do. Now, we do tend to have some clients, over a long term. We have long-term clients. We might have a client that's working with us, 5-6 years, and they're getting, different access to different funding throughout that time. They may have one loan in the beginning, and then 3 years later, they may need access to some more funding. But the goal is for them to transition over and be able to hand them back over to our bank partners, who we work very closely with.
That's excellent. And I know there's even some with the SBDC here within the Cleveland area. I've talked quite extensively with Katie Van Dyke and some of the programs that she runs. And she has a great program at which they bring those financial partners together with some of their clients so that they can really understand what it is that the banks are looking for. And those types of scenarios are really kind of where each of you play a role, correct? You're really the ones that are working face to face with the business owner to help them identify ways in which they can continue to build themselves from a financial perspective to grow that business long term. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you both interface with one another? Do you find that there are clients that go in between your two organizations?
Absolutely. We for us, we don't necessarily have a definition of somebody we're looking for to lend to. Our board who makes all of our lending decisions always likes to say it depends, which is a challenge. But I think that is one of the things that does make us unique, is that it does depend. We really look at the whole picture of a person, of an individual. And so when somebody is coming to us and their credit history is not great, but they're being very responsive to us throughout the whole process. Their financial documents look great. They know what they're talking about. We factor all of those things into our decision making, as opposed to, saying, oh, you are 600 credit score. That's way too low. We can't do that, whatever the number may be. So, I think that there is, so for us, and the point is in all this, for us, the people that we turn down the most are actually people whose credit is too good. Mm-hmm. If you can have access to a traditional financial institution, we may suggest you go that route. And I think the first place we would send somebody is to an ECDI, because we still don't want to put somebody who is thinking that they're coming to us because they feel slightly vulnerable in the financial institution. We still don't want to put them in a really bad spot, and going to ECDI is still a more protected space than maybe a traditional financial institution.
And there are times where we might share a client, where it's taken some risk off of them to bring us in, and vice versa. I really feel like in the ecosystem, there's a ladder. You know what I mean? Some clients might start at HFLA, and then they come to an ECDI, and then they go to a bank, or there might be some capital that's, institution that's in between us and a bank, So there's a ladder, but overall the intention is to work together as an ecosystem to get them up to a place where they're solid financially and can actually utilize the financial system. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think the loan programs that you have are really designed to do that too, right? They're relatively short-term loan programs that enable them to kickstart whatever avenue they're looking at, and then from there, hopefully get to that banking solution relatively quickly as they're building their credit and their financing. Mm-hmm. And you talked a little bit about some of the loans and some of the opportunities there. Can you talk a little bit more about what some of the loan structures are with ECDI?
Yeah, so we're actually a SBA microlender. And what that means is that we are distributing funds through the SBA, through an SBA program. And then we're also getting access to some I guess you can say insurance in a sense with some of the programming. So we have the SBA microloan program, which is, a little bit more flexibility there. Those loans are up to like 5 years. The rates are pretty standard rates right now. We're very conscious about not penalizing our clients for not being in the right position. Mm-hmm. So we're not that institution that is like, okay, we'll give you money, but your credit sucks, so we're gonna, amp up this rate. it's not structured like that. And then we also have another product called the Community Advantage Loan, which is also an SBA product.
Yes.
Now, that product is a little different. We utilize that when we're looking at real estate or we're looking at higher dollars, like over $100,000. And the nice thing about that is that there's that protection from the SBA where they will cover a portion if the loan were to default. And so we can come up with different things. And then we have a program that's not attached to the SBA that we call the mobilization loan, which is specific to construction industry, where we're giving them the money up front to get everything that they need for the project, materials, pay for some labor, because, there's a time period in which they get repaid for their service. So,
And sometimes even equipment can be a complete
that's a big thing too. So we have, those SBA programs, and then we try to come up with some programs too. And we even do loan specials throughout the year where, we're really known for that, where a client can get like $10,000 for 2%. Things like that. And I think that that's really important because a lot of our clients can't access like a line of credit and they need a line of credit. And so having that working capital that's at a very low rate throughout the year is really beneficial.
And what's the experience that companies have when they come with you to your individual organizations? Do they can they walk in the door? Is it typically by phone call, or how do companies interface with you?
For us, it's usually a phone call or email. A lot of it is referrals, but primarily people will go to our website. There's a number there that you can call. You're routed to the appropriate location based off of, because they'll say Columbus, Cleveland, where you're primarily at. And then you go and you'll get that connects to another relationship manager. Our relationship managers are the ones that handle our lending. So you go into a queue and then they reach out to you within a certain amount of time, reasonable time, usually the same day or the next day. Depending on, the demand and what's going on. The beginning of a year can be really rough.
I am sure.
So anyone who's looking to get funding at the beginning of the year, please, be patient with us because we have a lot of clients that are in need right now and, trying to get some things off the ground. But that's typically, how it is. Either it's a referral through email, a warm handoff from a partner like HFLA, or, they're going to our website and getting routed to the appropriate person.
Excellent.
And we're the same. We're a small shop. We are a staff of 6.5. We have one individual on our staff that works with our business applicants, our business application navigator. And it is, we are working in all of our lending. We're really trying to work to build the relationship with the borrower. We're interest free. So we don't, we need our money back in order to be able to make more loans moving forward. And so we really try to build that relationship with the borrower. And, when they're having a challenge, we know it so that we can work with them and figure out how to get through it together. The thing that really makes us unique, I believe, is how we manage loans on the other end. And we don't, publicize this too much, but we do everything we can to modify the loans, to work with people to make sure that, I don't know, if a pandemic hits, hypothetically speaking, that we have ways for them to be able to get through that successfully.
That's wonderful.
Because we are invested in their success, as much as they, we need them to pay us back. And so they will come, email, phone, whatever, referral, to us and work with the application navigator to make sure all the documents are in. The challenge that we have, I don't know if it's the same for you all or not, but one of the challenges we have is people feel like it's a really daunting process to come to us because we are not a financial institution. We don't have access to all the documents that a bank would be able to just get on their own. And so we need people to hand them to us. And so it feels a little bit more complicated and cumbersome sometimes to go through the HFLA process, but we're looking at all the same things a bank would look at.
Which is good because it creates that readiness.
Yeah. And we don't provide any technical support. So when we see somebody come in whose financials are not in a great place, who may need some technical support in that, or we don't rely as heavily on a business plan in our process, but who may need support in thinking through a business plan, because we do ask all the same questions that are part of a plan, we'll send to a women's business center or other SBDC in the region to help get those things together and be able to come back. And again, because we're a small shop and we've already started that relationship, when you come back in 2 months, we just sort of pick up where we left off. And hopefully
That's
part
great.
is a little bit easier and smoother for a entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm actually glad you mentioned the Women's Business Center, because our coaching and the training we primarily offer under our Women's Business Center. We have 5 Women's Business Centers across the state. And it's for all entrepreneurs. It's not, it was made to make sure that there is an environment where women feel comfortable, talking about their businesses and getting the support that they need, but anyone can utilize it. And so that's the other way that we work very closely together, is in those situations where she needs some additional support for her clients.
And within the ECDI, there's also some other programming that you do as well, quite extensively. Would you talk a little bit about some of the other elements of programming and webinars that you offer?
Yeah, so we do our online training and in-person training is extensive. We really try to think about what are the challenges that we're hearing from businesses. So we'll literally put something together for anything. It could be marketing related, but it gets a little bit more specific in marketing. It could be social media. It could be, how are you getting leads, things like that. And then we go into other areas of finance. We go into areas of sales. We go into areas of insurance, like any component that a business needs to be operationally sound. We try to think about what are some of the issues they're seeing. So soon, I'm sure there's going to be some tax training coming up, things like that. And then we do things like, in the past, I think this is always an excellent example, during COVID, a lot of those businesses, you couldn't have people walk into your business, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't really do a lot of face-to-face stuff. But if you didn't have a strong online presence, that really affected you. And so we started programming specific to digital literacy and addressing the digital divide. And we were able to create a program where these businesses were able to build out a sound website and also utilize any hardware that they may not have access to, like laptop or hotspot, things like that. And so that's a cohort-based program that lasted for X amount of weeks, and so many people were in it. And so I like cohorts a little bit because it's still like that one-on-one hands-on training, but it checks a box of something specific that you need to get done.
Yeah.
Or we'll do stuff like business startup training, like that type of stuff where it's like the main foundation of starting a business, everything that you need to be thinking about solidly, and you walk out with a serious business plan. And so it depends. Or we'll do something that's industry specific. Like, last year for our construction company, we had them go through OSHA training where they got 30 hours of OSHA training, which is excellent because now when you go to bid on a commercial contract, and that's a requirement, you have that certification. And so we try to think about what the needs are at the time.
Absolutely. Well, I know from our perspective here within the city of Beachwood, we have the new Beachwood One-Stop Resource Center. We're starting to see a lot of businesses come through that are looking for, other resources that are here within the community. And you two are both, from a financing perspective, ones that I always refer. And it's because you're so responsive and you really go the length and the distance to be able to help those individuals really identify how they can move forward based on where they're at within their business and within their growth pattern. So I appreciate everything that you've done to continue to support our efforts and to continue to identify ways in which we can, expand and support those small businesses across the Northeast Ohio area. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your individual organizations?
Yeah. How long does it take for your process?
It can depend. It really depends. I mean, it depends on the load, the demand. Those specials are quick typically. But it could take, for like a score loan which is not a program, but it's more of you're not really going through full underwriting. That can be like a month because literally we're checking boxes. Everything makes sense. Okay, boom, you're done. But for like a full underwrite, that could be a couple months. If we're looking at community advantage loan, which is usually more extensive, that can be even a little bit longer than that. And so we're always telling people like, listen, we're not a bank. So there's some certain infrastructure that we don't have in place and we're working towards that, but we're not quite there yet. So we're very upfront about expectations. But like I said, it depending on the time of year, depending on what's going on, things can move very differently. But I always tell people like, just know it's going to be a couple months. Yeah.
We are about to say we're sort of looking at that right now in our organization and trying to understand some of our that capacity and we're seeing that it's taking people about a month to finish the application and then about 35 to 40 days for us to process it. But
and our time frame, I don't even, when we give that time frame, it's not even the time frame it takes you to complete that stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the other factor that businesses have to think about. We're waiting for you to provide everything that we ask you for. And so you got to be mindful of that. Get it done and get it in so that it lessens that time frame for you, because you're adding on to the time. I'm not even talking about the time it's taking you to complete everything and gather all the documents we require.
But I think the unique thing about it is that it's financing that maybe otherwise they wouldn't be able to have access to.
Yeah.
And it enables them to position their business differently. And for those companies that are really trying to identify a mechanism to help get them up that ladder, like you talked about, it's the entry point at which they can really do some very good things to help drive that business forward. So I think the initiatives that you guys are both doing are incredible. I would love to continue to support all efforts, and we'd love to find ways that we can continue to collaborate and foster, more opportunities for businesses here locally. Real quickly, I'd love for you to just share your website or phone number or a way that businesses can get in touch with you from the ECDI perspective.
Yeah, so our website is pretty simple, ecdi.org, but you also can go to our Women's Business Center website, which is wbcohio.org. And so, different things going on with the Women's Business Center than at ECDI. So it's always nice to be able to look at both.
Absolutely. And Carrie?
We are interestfree.org. That's it.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. It tells you exactly what we do.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you both so much for being here. Thank you. And I would encourage anyone interested in exploring these opportunities to reach out for more information. You can also visit the Beachwood One Stop Resource Center that's available here at the City of Beachwood's website at beachwoodohio.com, and their contact information as well as their websites for both the resources of ECDI and HFLA are both there on that website. So thank you for listening today, and stay tuned for more episodes of the Beachwood Compass podcast with upcoming focus on ultra-focused Beachwood discussions around small business growth.